What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here for Fast Break here for Ice West Radio. You're ready for always sports. On tonight's show, the Timberwolves Spurs going on live right now at EPC. So I'll be talking live, talk about that. Plus, the draft lottery that happened earlier this afternoon with the Washington Wizards getting the number one overall pick. Probably a long time coming. I'll discuss who should they take and go over the results and all that stuff. Plus, are the New York Knicks destined for the NBA Finals after sweeping the Philadelphia 76ers? Can they give these star players by Cleveland or Detroit? Plus, can the Lakers just win the game with this damn Thunder? Can they please? That's all I ask for. So, we'll discuss all that, much more here on the show tonight. So this is Fast Break here live for Ice West Radio. You're ready for all sports. I'll catch you after these messages.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And let's make this bigger. All right. Welcome to tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight. I'm your host, Crooks Process, Davidson Crooks here to talk about the world of basketball and live playoff basketball, the draft lottery results, all that good stuff. And I'm watching right now, Anthony Edwards is going back to the locker room with the heating pad, so hopefully he's all right. The Timberwolves are up 2 points with a minute 16 left in the first quarter against the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs are up 2-1 in this series. Lots to talk about, lots to dive into here tonight. But before we get rolling tonight, ladies and gentlemen, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, to my mother and myself. D-Locke off today. He's off today, so he'll be back with us. Well, we're trying to do some Wednesday, and if not next week. But shout out to all the mothers out there, the good ones, that do their thing, all that good stuff. As you see right here on the ticker right here, one of our main sponsors here. All right, Vital Apparel. If you go to their website, at that website, get 50% off. It goes to help folks with mental health, all that stuff. On Mother's Day, it's always good to kind of check in, all that stuff. Make sure everything's good. So do check out one of our sponsors here to keep things afloat here at IE Sports Radio. So got that out the way. Like I said, happy Mother's Day all to the mothers out there as well. But we got playoff talk right now, and we got live playoff talk. Spurs versus Timberwolves live talk right now. The first quarter just ended with the Timberwolves up 34-30 right now. Heck of a game going on right now. Like I said, I just mentioned Anthony Edwards going to the back right now, so hopefully he'll be all right. We know he's on the minutes restriction right now for the Timberwolves, but right now, they're up 4. So can they keep this lead up, going while he's out? But thus far, Anthony Edwards, 11 points for him. Gobert, 5 points for him, 4 rebounds. Julius Randle, 5 points, 3 rebounds. Jaden McDaniels only 2 points thus far. Mike Conley, and I've been saying on the show for the past couple of weeks, Mike Conley. And you're not asking him to play like 35 minutes again. No, you're not. But if Mike Conley just come in, just be consistent, just be consistent, just play strong, just give the team a solid hand. I think that'd be great for them. And right now, come out the bench, 6 points, 1 assist. Naz Reid, same thing. 5 points for him off the bench, 2 rebounds. Naz Reid's been playing very well. Very good basketball for the Timberwolves right now. So he's got to keep that up. They got to keep this up. I don't know how deep the bench Chris Finch is going to go into tonight. We haven't seen Kyle Anderson yet. Bones Highland. I think these 8 guys that I talked about here, I think that's gonna be it right now. On the Spurs side of things, Victor Wembanyama, 4 points for him. Got to wake up a little bit. Got to get more involved. Dylan Harper, 9 points for him thus far in this first quarter. He's coming along very well. 7 points for De'Aaron Fox. 7 points for Stephon Castle. Devin Vassell, 3 points for him thus far in this matchup. I must say, going back to the last game for a little bit between these two teams, Dylan Harper is starting, not right now, there's something to keep an eye on for the future. I'm just going to put this in y'all's head like the movie Inception. Dylan Harper is slowly going to push De'Aaron Fox out the window. I know that there's the rumors, the Giannis rumors, all that stuff. We talked about on the show last week, the Giannis rumors and all that, where we fit at. The Spurs always came up as like a place of destination for Giannis. And we'll see what happens in the rest of the series, but let's just go with this. The Timberwolves win the series. Something got happened with the Spurs. I'm like, damn, what can we do to get better to kind of put us over the hump? And going back to Dylan Harper, he was playing late into the game until De'Aaron Fox came back into the lineup. But I was saying to myself, like, damn, De'Aaron Fox out there, Dylan Harper is playing pretty good. I know he's a rookie and all that, but if this play continues for him and this team, and De'Aaron Fox got the foul on Naz Reid there, but if that play continues, and you locked De'Aaron Fox into a deal that you can ship off. Now, the only thing that kind of sucks about it, and on the backside, you got to get Dylan Harper. He is, but I think you wouldn't do that because he's way younger than De'Aaron Fox. But going back to if the Timberwolves beat the Spurs in the series, I know the Bucks probably will want Dylan Harper in the deal, but if you're the Spurs, you try to do your damn best. If you're R.C. Buford and company, to kind of push De'Aaron Fox along there. De'Aaron Fox, a couple of first round picks, because with Victor Wembanyama where he is now, you're gonna be picking in the 20s anyway. And I'm not saying, the Spurs throw away first round picks like that, because they've done very well over the years with their draft capital. But times have changed. Pop's still around, but he's not in there. So you could sacrifice a couple of first round picks to the Bucks. Maybe it had to be 3 because it's gonna be in the late 20s. And Naz Reid just fell down, and Naz Reid's on the ball late into the shot clock going against Champagnie. Naz Reid, the floater. That floater has been beautiful for Naz Reid. That's been beautiful for Naz Reid. The Wolves are up 6. Jamie Daniels with the rebound, finding over Fox and Johnson. Julius Randle with the 3. That's a bad shot by Randle on the 3 on the fast break there. That's not his game. De'Aaron Fox driving. Champagnie with the 3-pointer at the top of the key. Oh, wow. I think that was Shannon trying to shoot over Wembanyama. He almost made the shot. And then Victor goes down, and he seems like he's okay. But the Wolves are up 6. Yeah, Shannon almost made that shot. But the Wolves are up by 6 right now against the team. Ooh, yeah. Victor took one to the chops right there. But what's good, Marcus? How you doing? Good. How you doing, Terry Rodriguez? How you doing tonight, sir? And then this one right here. We'll get to this comment here in a second. I think this is very NBA conspiracy talk. We always love NBA conspiracy talk here. Here we go again. 7777 says, is it time to question why is it every time AD is traded, a team that in that trade gets the number 1 pick? The Pelicans, Dallas, and the Wizards. Heck of a coincidence. Trade for AD and merely to lock up the number 1 pick. Well, it's when they trade away AD. That's when it comes about. Except for the Lakers. But yeah, if you really want to get technical with it, here we go again. Yeah, remember when the league owned the Hornets / the Pelicans. If y'all remember about that, the league owned that owned that team for a good bit. And then you had Dell debacle, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And then, the team finally sold to the Benson family, who own the Saints as well. And then, the the Hornets, Pelicans got the number 1 pick. Anthony Davis was kind of considered the top pick in that draft. And also, you got to remember that same year, the Bobcats, they were the drizzling shits. And I think that, if I remember correct, that's the lockout season. And the Bobcats didn't win, they went under the 10 games under that shortened season. But the Hornets ended up the number 1 pick and the Bobcats number 2. And they took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist there. Did not pan out so well for them in hindsight. But remember, and one thing about the NBA, if you kind of notice over the years, if new teams come in, new owners come in, they kind of get awarded in a way. So, yeah, when they bought the team, they got the number 1 pick. Boom, Anthony Davis. There you go. And then, when things were going bad for, that relationship, he got traded to the Lakers. And then, boom, they got the number 1 pick over again by coincidence. And then they drafted Zion, in which that has not really worked out well. Zion couldn't stay healthy, and then David Griffin locked him to a big time contract for reasons I still question to this day. And then now, he traded away from Dallas after the short term there. Hurt again. They get Cooper Flag, and it seemed like they got, well, Kyle, you know what? Let's say this. The Dallas got more rewarded because they got, Luka got traded. It was because of Anthony Davis, per se. I mean, he was in it, but, I get your conspiracy part. But Luka, everybody making a big stinking finally, like the worst trade in sports history and all that stuff. I could say a lot way worse trades happen in sports. But I think this is like, and the Mavs owner Patrick Dumont saying, "Well, I didn't know," and then now you got Warden number 1 pick. Now you got Masai Ujiri in the front office now, along with Cooper Flag. So now you got that right there, and see how that goes for the Dallas Mavericks' future. And for the Wizards, I mean, it's hard to say because, they were one of the worst teams in the league, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. I said this on the show about 3 weeks ago or so. Between the Wizards, the Jazz, the Nets, Kings, and Pacers. Just put those 5 teams. Give them much ball as you can, and that'll be your top 5 right there. If y'all worry about the tank and all that crap, put those 5 teams in the best odds possible. Let the balls go where they may, and then that's it. In a generational draft like this, give them the best odds, let them pick who they pick, and we'll go from there. We'll go from there. Everybody else you can figure out. You can figure out the order there. So, and we'll see. And we'll see if AD still be a Wizard come training camp. But I think with this, getting a nice young talent to come in, whoever they may be, I think, Trae Young in the mix, Alex Sarr, got a couple of nice people. I think you can do some of your Washington next year, if those guys stay healthy and Trae Young, AD. The coach, Keith, I'm not really excited about. And then I think there's other guys, you can get, Sam Cassell. But I think there's other guys out there, I think you could do a better job and maybe elevate that team in its play. But good conspiracy. I love a good NBA conspiracy and all that. I love that. I like it. I like it. I like it. But let's go back here. Right now, the Wolves are up 38-34. Young a turnover happened, and Nas Reed is hunched over, hurt right now for the Timberwolves. Chris Finch is asking for a replay right now. And by the way, what y'all think about Tony Brothers and Tony Brothers kind of like charging at Chris Finch? And I'm pretty sure Tony Brothers got talking to, but I think he should be suspended for every next game he's doing the playoffs because that ain't look good. I know you're talking about heat in the moment, stuff like that, playoff basketball, intensity, testosterone, all that good stuff. But damn it, that ain't a good look. And ways, these refs be going about in the playoffs, all this stuff, that ain't a good look having your ref charge at the coach like that. Not a great look. Oh, okay. Wimby got ejected. Well, that changes things for this playoff game. If y'all just join in now, Victor Wembanyama has been ejected from this game. Damn. Let me update this. Hang on just a second, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, if you just popping in now, Victor Wembanyama's gone after the Nas Reed injury. Wow. So, what does this do for the Spurs odds? Because we've seen Victor go out of the game in this playoff run against the team right here, Point Trail Blazers, and the Blazers got one over the Spurs. Now, of course, the Spurs woke up and whooped their ass next few games. But you talk about a different team here. You talking about a different squad, different, mindset in the Minnesota Timberwolves here. Yes, you got like a not 100% Anthony Edwards and others. But you Chris Finch, and then you got to smell blood in the water. And now you can dominate inside with Wembanyama out. Julius Randle should be punishing inside. Rudy Gobert should be punished inside. Nas Reed should be punished if he comes back in the game. Punished inside. But mainly Julius Randle, he should be eaten in the post. No 3-pointers. I'll Chris Finch, I'll tell him, hey, man, you took a fucking 3-pointer during this game with him out. I mean, you still on the bench. And Al Rodriguez can me, all this stuff, and ask me what the fuck going on. I'll tell him, hey, man, drive the lane. Get some fouls. And then we'll bring Luke Cornett in. Hey, Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, bring them in. Rack them up. Julius Randle should be at like 30 plus points with Victor going out. Let's be real about that. Let me update this real quick. Let's see. Because you got to be taking advantage of that. So, and Carter Bryant, he I think he got a foul call as well. So things ain't going good for the Spurs right now, despite being down by 4. Give me just a second. So yeah, man. So how does Spurs respond to that? Got Luke Cornet out there, Ruby Gobert's out there, and then Spurs got a steal. Great defense by Dylan Harper on the fast break, and then great defense by Jaden McDaniels have his hand up to intercept that fast break pass to Julian Champagne to the corner. Why Julius Randle on the 3-point line? Why is Julius Randle on the 3-point line? Why is Julius Randle taking the 3 right now? Yes, he made the 3, but why is Julius Randle on the 3-point right now? Drive the lane. God. It's like modern basketball to a point. They don't deviate. Like the NBA has gotten to the point like the NFL. They don't deviate. If they got their plan, they got their plan or set lineup, whatever playbook. They don't deviate for shit. No one just for nothing. It's just like they keep doing the same thing. Like, okay, yeah, Victor's out, but Julius, we're gonna have you still at the 3-point line. Man, no, drop the lane. Anthony Edwards back in the game. Drop the lane. Drop the lane. Because they got the Spurs got no other 4-man that can really hang with Randle. Barnes is solid, but he gonna do so much. And Ruby go 1 for 2 for a free throw line right there. 42-34, Minnesota. Minnesota starting putting the pressure on them. Bass was bringing the ball up against Anthony Edwards. Got the ball over the half court line. Screen coming up right there by Bass. So that's Castle driven the ball. They look like damn twins. And Luke Cornet with a dunk over Ruby Gobert down, which I thought he didn't make it in. And then Nas Reed getting his shoulder like taped up. All right. And here's the Barnes on Julius Randle. Julius Randle driving. There you go. Good, nice push off though. There we go in the paint. There we go. Just like that. But yeah, this should be driving right now. De'Aaron Fox with the shot. Nice shot right there. Long 2. Ruby Gobert got the ball top. He should be down low too. Why he's hanging around the 3-point line? And there's one thing that I think coaches in basketball, especially in the NBA, got away from. In the sense, like you got to have some plays for the big guy. You got to have like that 2 down low set. You still got to keep those plays around, just in case for situations like this. And Castle trying to drive. And Castle got his offensive rebound and got the shot over multiple Wolves defenders there. Great hustle by him. It's like spot Victor being now that the Spurs they're only down by 6. Harrison Barnes driving, kicking out the Castle. Harrison Barnes on the screen. Castle the step back 3. Nope. And Luke Cornett on the finish right there on the offensive rebound. Nobody boxing him out. Got a clean dunk in right there. If Luke Cornett can play strong and whatnot, down low, not getting in foul trouble, I think to go along with for the Wolves. For the Spurs, excuse me. But 3-pointer right there by Ayo right there for the 3-pointer. 49-42 for the Wolves right now. The De'Aaron Fox took the shot right there into the floater. Jaden Daniels, the blunders, the fast break opportunity right there. Excuse me, Anthony Edwards. Good defense by the rim by Jaden McDaniels right there. Anthony Edwards bring the ball up. Wilbur Garrett coming on the screen. Well, screen got called off. Anthony Edwards driving. Got the foul call. Head on 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, it should be feasting time for Julius Randle. Should be feasting time. So timeout right now for this game. So let me get that tweet off right there. All right. So commercial break. The Wolves are up right now. I'm going to come back to this right now. Hold on. We'll go to the chat. Marcus saying they did Victor dirty. I'll be honest with you, I caught the glimpse of it because I was, talking here. So let me try and pull it up real quick. See what happened. Okay. He was over the back, Nas Reed. Okay. Got the rebound. Then, yeah, he cocked back and hit Nas right there. So, yeah, Nas Reed be taking some shots this game. So, yeah, it's a bang-bang thing, but you had to do something there. You had to do something there. But like I said, the Spurs ain't really down much, so we'll see, things that get maintained or whatnot, Marcus. We'll see. We'll see. But Victor got to know, Mitch Johnson got to tell him, hey man, we need you. You can't get your motion get to you and all that stuff. We need you. Besides injury, don't do no. We can't have you out the game. That was just dumb on his part. And kind of watching again, there was no need for that. No need for that. You were clear from the rebound. Hold the ball up, hold the ball, rebound, keep your elbows out, and don't do nothing else crazy with it. So while this commercial break's going on, I'll hop back to it just a second. The New York Knicks sweep the Philadelphia 76ers. They win the series 4-0, completing, 4-0 sweep in the conference semifinals. You can kind of consider the Subway Series because these teams are like an hour and a half apart around the subway. And I thought thinking to myself, like, if y'all were in these two team shoes, would y'all go, all right, if you're playing in Philly, for example, or New York, would you stay in Philly for the next game, or would you just go back home. The hour, 2 hour ride back home. Be back in your bed. Practice at home. Then come back on game day. Come game day time. Leave just enough for shoot around, all that stuff, or you do, and in Philly, and then get ready for the game, all that stuff. I mean, if I had the option to do that, I know you can probably get away with that for the regular season, but if I'm playoff series, I'm trying to have the best comfort at home for my players. I would. That's just me. That's just me speaking. I'm probably like a cheap option in a sense. But if I'm just like an hour away like this and through the subway and all that, I would. If you're Philly, I mean, you ride into Central Station, all that and you're close to the Garden anyway, coming through that way. Okay, get done your game, make sure everybody load up everything, and just head back home. Get back to the team facility, go back to where you live at. Next day, come in for film, practice. Then next morning or whatever, hit the train for New York. And repeat the process. You'd probably be in the garden for a few hours, but you should go back home to your own bed. I don't know. It's just something I thought about. Like, damn, would you go home after each game in this series? I would, but that's just me. But they win 144-114, in which the game wasn't closed. The New York Knicks just uploaded the clip. The Knicks exploded offensively, putting up 43 points in the first quarter and never looking back. They balanced scoring, at least shooting, and overwhelming depth provided too much for Philadelphia. The Knicks dominated early with a 43-point opening quarter, shooting extremely well from three and controlling the pace. The bench contributed heavily, maintaining the lead throughout. The New York Knicks have woken up. They have woken up. That last series, they have woken them up. They have woken up. And maybe besides OKC, probably one of the better teams in the playoffs right now. They're going to be real about it. I asked the question to y'all: are the New York Knicks destined for the NBA Finals? I know you still got the Detroit and Cleveland series going on. Yes, I do know that. And I know Detroit will be a tough out. If it comes down to that. But man, the way they've been shooting the ball and playing offensively, you can't ask much for more. And all the talk about Mike Brown possibly be on the hot seat and all that stuff. I think I'm not saying you can push out the window, but I think you can kill that talk for the rest of the playoff run. All that good stuff. The only thing that kind of sucks is OG being out with the hamstring injury. With OG being out with the hamstring injury, that can go a long ways. But you get the extra rest, and you better hope Cleveland wins tomorrow. Against the Detroit Pistons. If those teams can go to 7 games, that's more rest for y'all for the New York Knicks. And granted, depending on who wins, if Detroit wins the series, then you got to go to Detroit. But if you get a chance, if Cleveland can pull it out and you get Cleveland at home, and then in that environment in the Garden, because, you're talking about mid-30s James Harden, and also James Harden that's also very shaky in playoff performances. Got that going for yourself. Donovan Mitchell sometimes don't have his best games in the Garden. The Twin Towers down low, Mobley and Jared Allen. There's some good moments and moments you just kind of like, damn, man. It's like, what are we doing here? And then the 3 spot, that's just for the Cavs, like Dean Wade, Struz. I forgot the other dude's name, but it's like it ain't clicking right there, right in this series. But shout out to the Knicks, man. They're kicking ass right now. They're kicking ass. They are kicking ass and taking names, all that. And Mike Brown's done a great job and kind of kept his job alive for the most part. And let me get this up here. And reason why I said, are they destined for the NBA? New York Knicks destined for the NBA Finals. The reason I say that because they got a lot of momentum going for themselves. And yeah, you got to go to the conference finals, but it feels like Detroit's not there yet because they really, really struggled. I don't say really struggled, but they struggled with the Orlando Magic. And the Orlando Magic team that probably should have put them out in the first round. Who's going to be real? You know what I'm saying? Get to the series. We'll see how this series goes about, but you're talking about a more focused team with Kenny Atkinson as the coach and all that. Could give Detroit headaches. If Detroit goes to another long series, I don't know. And plus, I had Knicks going to the finals anyway before the season, but I don't think Detroit has the nutrition right now to go 7 games deep with the Knicks. And especially how last year went with the Detroit and the Knicks series on that stuff, how salty that got. I think the Knicks would come out for revenge and blood in that series. I think one thing the Knicks got going for themselves this time around compared to last year, the role players are playing a lot better than last year. I think that's one thing. If you're Leon Rose, Mike Brown company, the role players are playing a lot better compared to last year. Last offseason, you couldn't really do too much. You added some guys like Jordan Clarkson, for example, all that. But I think this time around, the role players are playing. Landry Shamet playing his best ball in a good while. Deuce McBride playing very well. Mitchell Robinson playing very well. I think you still need to get Miles Bridges more consistent and whatnot offensively. But I think if you get those things rolling for yourself, if you New York Knicks and Mike Brown, I think they can carry a lot of weight for you. And go to the chat right here. And and Mark is saying, "Cat still soft." Hey, Cat's been playing well. I can't take that away from him. 72 points, 10 rebounds for him in tonight's matchup. Deuce McBride, 25 points for him in the starting lineup. 22 for Jalen Brunson as well. Bridges, 12 points for him. Josh Hart, 17 points. And if in the second half, I mean, yeah, they hit all the threes in the first half, but I feel like in the second half when they were still rolling and stuff like that, hitting. and hitting. I was like, damn, y'all ain't letting up it for shit. Like I said, Landry Shamet, 4 for 6 for 3-point land. Excellent points right there for him. Alvarado, 7 points for him off the bench. So everybody got like scoring, except for DOR for the Knicks. And I think, one thing in the playoff run, these bench guys, granted, they've been playing heavy minutes, but they get some minutes in there when they late blowouts, which is, like I said, very key. Very, very, very key for this team to get to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying they're going to win it because I have OKC repeating, but now, their odds are looking a little bit better. Their odds are looking a little bit better. The Wolves Spurs about to go to halftime here, and Shannon driving, didn't get the foul, and that's the end of the half right there. With the Wolves up 60-56 right now, the Spurs have a 2-1 series lead in this matchup this far. If y'all just now joining me now, Victor Wembanyama has been ejected from the game after an elbow to Naz Reid early in this game. So can the Spurs keep pace, stay with this team to go up 3-1 and take it back home to San Antonio for Tuesday's matchup? Or, like I've been live tweeting for our show's account right here on Fast Break IESR, can Julius Randle feast? Is it time for him to feast down low? So, there are a lot of questions right there and whatnot that I got to question the Wolves if they can defeat that team. If you want to make it back to the Western Conference Finals, you got to take advantage of these opportunities that come about you. Going to the Philly side of things to wrap this series up real quick. Joel Embiid was efficient, 8 for 8, 24 points, but the team struggled defensively. It was just like a bad game. Philadelphia showed late fight, but when it was that fourth quarter, 31-22, but the deficit was too large. They just couldn't. It was just too much. It's like the Knicks just knocked them out from the gate. And, once they knocked out the game, the home crowd, the neo-Knick crowd there in Philly just took over, and that was it. It was a wrap. They couldn't overcome that. Tyrese Maxey had 17 points. Edgecombe only had 8 points. 0 for 6 from 3-point land for Edgecombe. Oubre 10 points. Paul George 7 points in 26 minutes. It's not a great showing. 7 minutes for Andre Drummond in his matchup. So, just look at the Sixers side of things with their season ended. You started off rocky. Joel Embiid only played let me pull it up. Joel Embiid only played 31 games. I mean, not 31, excuse me. 38 games this year. The year before last year, 19. 2023, 39. He's not been very, very available on the court this past few years. Well, hardly ever in his career, but you get my point. If you're Philly, that backcourt is cool. Edgecombe's a rookie. He got time to grow on himself, so I'm not sweating him. But I do wonder about this team and whatnot. Your owner, Josh Harris, he's up and down those fouls. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You still got Daryl Moore there, and is he best equipped to make decisions and stuff like that? Nick Nurse still head coach there, so I think that's a solid piece right there. But this team's got a lot of questions. Do you still keep Paul George around? What do you do with Joel Embiid? Do you try to sell high on Joel Embiid? Is my question. Because you can't do another season of him playing under 50 games. You can't. And and when he comes back and plays, look what happens. You beat Boston in the first round. This series, he won't. I mean, it didn't fucking matter. But when he's available, great. But that's few and far between. If you're Philly, I think it's time to hop off this train. But how can you so high on him? That's the question. That's the main question. How can you so high on Joel Embiid when he's not really available? So that's the main question, number one, for Philly going to the offseason. Two, if they keep Embiid around, they need a 4-man bad. They need a 4-man very bad. And I think, like I've been talking about the NBA and stuff like that, they've been kind of trying to get away with this small forward that's like 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", to play that stretch forward, and depending on who the player is, you get very mixed results. They need the Sixers need a 4-man very bad. I mean, look at the roster right now. You got Trenton Walford, but he's just a bench player and player that should stay in school for another year or two. Not throwing shade Trenton, but you should have took gas to Alabama. But anyways, here and there. Andre Drummond, he's more of a role player now at this stage of his career. Good talk. I mean, good fill in, but would you keep him around, or you give guys like Justin Edwards more time next year? Dominic Barlow, do you roll those guys more next year? All that good stuff. Adeem Bonya, do you roll those guys next year and let Andre Drummond go elsewhere? Janai Broome, who you took in the second round this last draft. Do you try to groom him up for that 4th spot if you keep Embiid around? So you're Philly, you got a lot of questions there. I think Kelly Oubre is on a 1-year deal. Do you keep him around? Between him and Quentin Grimes, who do you keep around at the 3 spot? Does Oubre walk to get a deal somewhere? And Mark said, where's the Embiid that seen my C's? That's a great question. A lot of people kind of going to this matchup with the Knicks and the Sixers, like they're going back to what Embiid put Cat in the chokehold years ago, and they thought Cat would have PTSD and kind of fold. And that did not happen in this series. And plus, Embiid didn't play in game 2, so that put like a dent into things in that series. So for Philly, I don't know. They got a lot of questions. Your backcourt is fine. It's like the other pieces, one of the teams, you got a lot of questions about. And also, you probably look at it now, and even back then, they trade away Jerry McCain for peanuts in a sense because he's been kicking ass against the Lakers he was talking about bitch scoring and stuff like that. That's another person you had under a rookie contract for next year. Okay, if you lose Quentin Grimes or Kelly Oubre and stuff like that, or something like that, at least you had McCain there. Now come like another year off his ACL injury. Now you got a nice 6 man to come off your bench and leave your second squad. But now that option kind of went away. We trade him away for draft picks. Nothing wrong with that, but kind of sold him out too early. And this is the kid, Jared McCain. If he didn't get hurt a couple years ago, kind of on pace to win Rookie of the Year the way he was scoring. So I don't understand that mindset to get rid of him so early like this. But that's never here or there. But it's kind of like sometimes these teams just kind of sell so early and all that good stuff and whatnot. But let's take a break. On the other side of things, the draft lottery happened. I'll go to the results and what the hell the Wizards should do in the number one pick. But this is Fast Break here, live for Sports Radio. You're for Sports. I'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. I'm your man, the Crooks Process here. D-Locke has the night off tonight. Hopefully, we'll maybe try and do so Wednesday, get his thoughts on the NBA draft lottery, all that stuff. And I'll be back here live next week around 7 o'clock. If you're new to this show at IE Sports Radio, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Once we go live every Sunday, you'll get that notification. You see my lovely face here. And my co-host lovely face as well, live every Sunday. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that bell notification because sometimes YouTube can be very janky on how things go, about notifications, all that stuff. So do keep that in mind as well. And do follow us on all your social media feeds. X, that's the main one, and YouTube. X and YouTube. Oh, okay, got that changed. Okay. And then, check out the website as well, iSportsRadio.com. You check all the profiles of everybody who does the shows on the network. Get you covered from baseball, volleyball, football/soccer, American football as well. So do check out on those social media feeds right there. All right. So I left off. I'm going to talk about the NBA draft lottery. Trying to run through that real quick and all that stuff. But congratulations to the Washington Wizards who won the 2026 NBA draft lottery, securing the number one overall pick A long time coming, the first overall pick for them since 2010, who they selected John Wall with that pick. Was it a franchise changer? Yeah, because they had some success. Yeah, they had some success. I can't front on that. But, even with lower league East and stuff like that, they still couldn't get over that hump. You know what I'm saying? But, anyways, having said all that, the Wizards secured the number one pick. They have missed out that number one overall pick the past few years. Last year they were 6 overall. I think they took the kid from Texas, Johnson from Texas, I believe. So you got that going for them there. Solid season for the young man, but I didn't think a lot of people didn't expect the Wizards to be nowhere close to contention. And then they made 2 moves around the deadline for Anthony Davis, and then before, like a week before, 2 weeks before the deadline, trade for Trae Young. You got off that Chris Middleton contract, and then I think at that time, I said, okay, if you're doing this, all right, if you did this trade, you think if you're the Wizards, you think to say, okay, the draft lottery has not been on our odds for the past few years. Granted, we got number 2 a couple years ago, took Alex Sarr. This past year took Alex Sarr a couple years ago. But other than that, we never got to that top like we should have had. And we always been picked like 6, 7, 10, stuff like that. It's like, at times we're a little too good to be in the top half of the lottery, and then sometimes we suck. The odds don't give in our favor. So now we make these 2 moves to get Anthony Davis and Trae Young. And now we kind of talking about, okay, if you look at the squad, let me pull this squad up. Now you look at the squad right now. Bud Carrington, Trae Young, Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Bial Kulube, Cam Whitmore, Justin Champagnie, Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr. Now you're kind of talking about like a solid team in the East. Yeah, a solid team in the East that can probably, if they stay healthy, could do some damage. But, who do they add to that group I just named out to kind of, grow this team? Because DC is desperate for a star basketball wise. You got Jayden Daniels on the football side of things. For basketball, for the Commanders, you need somebody to kind of match up with that energy right there with him. So who should they target at number 1 overall? You got AJ Davidson, 6'10" forward from BYU. A kid that's kind of been on the radar to be a number 1 overall pick for a while. I'll get to the other ones here in a second, but you're talking about a kid that's really coming along and went to assistant out in BYU this past year that really kind of changed the directory of his game. You're talking about a kid, that can jump out the gym, that can run the floor, all that stuff. That's great. But also within that BYU system, you got to shoot the ball. I think, as the year went on this past year for BYU, he really came along. And like you look up, especially after the one kid went out with the injury. I forgot his name, but the shooting guard. But once he went out with the injury, the Mistas, scoring just kind of went up in the absence. So, I'm trying to. And then that saying the article was already coming out saying the Jazz and Wizards could trade down for if the right offer, but they're not gonna fucking do that. Like what? Not like let's be real. If you're the Wizards, you're in a prime spot. I'm not saying other teams could trade up and whatnot, but I'm the Wizards. I'm in the prime spot. Excuse me. I'm in the prime spot to get a franchise generational talent to change my future around. I've been I've been missing out on this for a good 2 years. I'm not trading out of this shit. No, no. So you got AJ DeMista as top overall potential pick. Darren Peterson out of Kansas. Now with Peterson, I think going to the season, he was kind of like the consistent number one, but as the season went along, that kind of faded. Just the way things went. Still had a solid season. And granted, Kansas went out earlier than they should in the tournament, but that kind of like once the other players from the other guys I'm going to mention here in a little bit went down, I think it's just like you gotta question some things there. You gotta question some things there, and this the way that Bill Self went protecting. I mean, you protect your players, but he just went like way over. Like I never seen Bill Self go. I pull over a player in my lifetime, and get this out real quick. But like Peterson's a great pick. He's 6'6", can shoot the ball fluidly, can handle the ball. With Trae Young there, if you put him at the two guard spot, now you got a nice backcourt, a veteran there and a guy on the wing. Pushing Trey Johnson to the bench, but Peterson, I think, draft odds is like a better player than Trey Johnson. Not saying it's right or whatever, but I just think, you got to put the better player on the floor and not have Peterson off the bench, or not. I don't think it'll go well early to the season. And then Keith probably be out of job if that happens. And right now, going back to the Wolves and Spurs, De'Aaron Fox is on the floor. Favoring his foot or knee or something like that. Just kind of looking at it. Let's see. Hold on. Let's get this out. But kind of look at like this good West prospects. Cameron Boozer. Now, if you're Wizards, but if you're the Wizards, do you take another big man down low? Does Anthony Davis really want to play for if you taking Cameron Boozer no more overall, you doing this because Anthony Davis does not want to be a Wizard for you this upcoming year? you know. And I think there's conversations to be had with Anthony Davis and see if he wants to be around for the short term with his team. I think Anthony Davis is 32 years old. So if you're the Wizards, you got a lot of questions. Like, okay, and I think it surrounds Anthony Davis. Like, do you want to stick around? If you don't, we can find you a spot. If you do, okay, cool. We'll focus on other directions. But I think it shouldn't really factor that much, but I think it plays a role into how you draft. I also say draft AJ DeMista #1 overall because you get a versatile forward with your squad, and you still got a lot of room to grow. And you're talking about a young kid too, who's like 6'9", 6'10", that can grow and still shoot and all that stuff. A lot of growth in his game, and bring a lot of excitement to that city. So Boozer will be an option only if Anthony Davis does not want to stick around. You need like a low post player. If you want to go that route, it's the safe route. What about Caleb Wilson, the young forward from North Carolina, a guy that played very well this season until he got hurt? And could we be singing a different tune about North Carolina if he didn't get hurt before the tournament? And Hubert Davis probably keep his job if they had him go deep into the tournament. We talking about Caleb Wilson, is about 6'10", very long, athletic. Very high upside. Got to work on the shooting and whatnot. Build up himself a little bit in frame. But when I talk about like in a 4-man, him and Boozer, you got 2 4-men coming to this league that should be highly coveted for years to come. Because these guys are not centers. Boozer and Caleb Wilson are not centers. And I think it'd be very bad for their careers if you're trying to force them to be centers. I don't care if small ball centers or not in the NBA, because they're not centers. They're 4-men. They're power forwards. So if you're like, I go in order here, but if you somebody seems trying to like get these guys like a Wilson and Boozer, you gotta have a big man in place. That's a 5-man in place. If not, you're going to like derail their career before things get going. Other guys I can mention, Keaton Wagler, who played very well for Illinois, one of the better scorers in the nation. A guy that didn't have a lot of had a big offers coming out of high school out in Overland Park. Took the Illinois offer and made the best of it. Now he's a potential lottery pick. Darius Acuff, another young scorer out of college this year. Somebody else going to be talking about top 5. Him, Keaton Wagler, and LeBaron Thalon they're all going to be on the same conversation. Like combo guards that who do you like better? You know what I'm saying? Like, who do you like better between those 3 guys? But Thalon, you talking about a guy that played 2 years of college ball. A guy that almost came out last year. Came out this year. Was one of the better scorers in the country for Alabama. Acuff come to his own. Really a high volume scorer for Arkansas this past year. And then Wagler, same thing. really grew to that scoring role that led Illinois to a Final Four run. Now, other names I can consider, we can consider here. I ain't trying to get straight too far off. Keaton Fleming out of Houston. A young man, I think, should go back for another year, but still got a lot of room to grow in his game. He's very fast, plays strong defense. He can score, but I think his scoring, kind of result that, Houston, Kevin Sampson, what they run and what they do as a team identity. I think he looked good on a team that's not identity-wise known for scoring. So those guys there are some names I bring about. Nate Ament out of Tennessee. Came in with a lot of hype, but was okay. But you kind of expected more throughout the season, and it never really materialized for a guy that probably should be in conversation in the top overall pick, but never really didn't happen like that. But we'll see. We'll see how the draft process goes for him and whatnot. So those are the guys I consider top picks and whatnot for the Wizards. Like I said, AJ DeBesta, if I had a choice, right, kind of like right now talking to y'all on Mother's Day on May the 10th, that'd be my guy right there, number one overall pick. Now, it can change. It could change Pearson, could change the Boozer, could be changed to somebody else. But right now, AJ DeBesta, if you're a Wizards fan, I think that's the guy you should be looking towards as number one overall pick. Now, I got that all the way. Also, let's go down the list real quick. Wizards get the top spot. Number 2, the Utah Jazz. The Jazz had, let me pull it up right here. The Jazz had like the second to best odds to get the pick, top overall pick, but they get number 2. So the Utah Jazz got a solid roster. It's just like, where we going with this roster? What we going to do? Are we keeping Lauri Markkanen around? He's been in trade block for the past couple years. Who do you select? If AJ DeBesta falls to y'all in second, do you scoop him up and keep him in Utah? I think if you're Danny Ainge company, that's something you better hope for. Because granted, he got a lot of money to go out to BYU, but if he's willing to go out there to play for BYU, I think he'd be cool for playing out in Utah. Better than Darren Peterson. Boozer could be another option there. His dad played for your franchise for multiple years, very successful. Also, Boozer has lived out there, so he's very familiar with the franchise. So if you're Utah, you looking at taking the best player available. 3, the Memphis Grizzlies. Another team, like, where are we going with this franchise? You got a boatload of picks from Orlando Magic for years to come. You got some picks from the Utah Jazz for the Jaren Jackson trade. So right there, you'll certainly rebuild. What do you do with John Morant? That's the big question. Who could you trade him to get this rebuild started? A lot of questions for Memphis. I think if you're missing Memphis after those other two guys are gone, you take the best player available and work it out there. Number 4, I think one of the big winners in this draft lottery, the Chicago Bulls. Now they got new leadership until Billy Donovan's gone. So you got a roster in Chicago that's like, where do we go from here? I'm pulling up right now. You got guys like Rob Dillingham, Josh Giddey, Trey Jones, Colin Sexton, Anthony Simons, Leonard Miller. Young guy, got a lot of potential, 6'10", 6'11". This guy, probably one of those guys that probably should just took his ass to school. In the end, you probably see a different style game from him. But a guy that you could nurture, depending on who the coach is, and get something out of him. Isaiah Okoro, Montez Buzelis, one of your hopefully your cornerstones. Patrick Williams, do you keep him around or you trying to sell him off? Also, bigs like Zach Collins, Nick Richards, and Jalen Smith. So if you're the Bulls, if those top 3 guys I've been talking about are gone, who do you look at? You know what I'm saying? Because that, like I mentioned, you got Ape Cup, Fine and Ragler, the next group of guys right there, and they're guards, and I think you're pretty guard heavy already. I mean, looking right now, I don't see another swing man that you can take in that spot to kind of fill the hole in the wing. Just looking at it. So will you be reaching for somebody that you probably don't need at the moment? That's a very interesting question right there. Cameron Carter, do you reach for him at 4 just to fill a spot? Isaiah Evans, same thing. Do you reach for him in that type of spot? Cole Pete, do you reach for him at that spot? A guy that was getting top 5 buzz early in the season. So the Bulls got a lot of questions. I think the Bulls should be primed for maybe like a trade down, maybe. Get some additional draft capital and then, take somebody best available and then go from there and, kick the can down the road. And another winner for the draft lottery, the Los Angeles Clippers. If the Pacers pick landed in the top 4, I believe, if I read that correctly, they kicked that pick. If it did not, it will convey to the LA Clippers, and it did happen. So the Clippers have a top 5 pick. Despite only missing out on the playoffs right here, they get a top 5 pick. And now this team that's got a lot of questions about their future. Is Kawhi Leonard sticking around? What do you do some of these other guys on the roster? You trade for Darius Garland. Is he a long-term fit with this team? Pull up that roster right now. Bojan Bogdanovic. Do you keep him around? For next year. Ty Washington, Bradley Beal, who did dick all nothing for you. Chris Dunn, very solid role player for you. You should keep him around. Nicholas Batum probably should be getting close to retirement right there. Benedict Mathurin, very solid player if you give him solid time. Kobe Sanders, John Collins, very solid vet. Brook Lopez, kind of in the same boat with Nicholas Batum. So if you're the Clippers, your backcourt needs some injection of youth. And guys I mentioned like Fallon, Wagler, Acuff should be on your radar. Michael Brown out of Louisville, that should be another guy on the radar as well. But those three guys I've been mentioning, that should be on your radar for the backcourt and for your future, in my humble opinion. I think the front court is okay. You could probably bring back Lopez for another year, see how that works out for you. But I'm just thinking, that backcourt, along with Darius Garland, should see some youth in there for the future. And let's zip through these real quick. The Brooklyn Nets, number 6 overall, the number 6 overall pick. Sacramento Kings, who sucked ass all year, fell all the way down to number 7. Number 7. The Atlanta Hawks, who had the Pelicans pick, got number 8. The Dallas Mavericks, number 9. And the Milwaukee Bucks, number 10. Look at the Nets. They should just take best player available. I don't know who that would be for them. Just take the best player available and just grow that player. The Kings need a little bit more structure. And I'm not saying taking the best player available should be in their cards, but I don't know. It's just like they got a lot of questions with that roster next year. Like, can you shot Sabonis to get additional draft capital and get the rebuild process going that way? Pull this up. Devin Carter, he was a waste of a first round pick. Killian Hayes, Malik Monk, very solid 6-man. Keep him around. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, DeAndre Hunter, Patrick Baldwin, Precious Achiuwa, Keegan Murray. You got a lot of swing forwards there that you got to cut bait with. Sabonis down low. So if you look at this roster, it's like a hot mess. You're overbloated with salary, if you're being real. Just looking at names like Sabonis, LaVine, and DeRozan, that's just right there. So if you're the Kings, you've taken at least a guard with this pick at 7. Whoever's the best guard coming about that point, you got to take him there. Hawks, probably the same breath right there, because CJ McCollum, he's mid-30s. Dyson Daniels is a very fine player, but he brings you nothing offensively like he should. So if you're Atlanta, you need another scorer. Granted, you need another big man, you need a 5-man, but I think you need a scorer for the future to go along with James Johnson and a ball handler. You need a ball handler if you're Atlanta Hawks. Dallas, if you can score a guard for the future to go along with Cooper Flag, that'd be great, because Kyrie, coming out of injuries and he's already in the 30s, so you need somebody for that future there. Granted, you probably need to look at big men as well if you're the Dallas Mavericks, because Gafford and Lively has not shown to stay healthy since they arrived to Dallas. And the Bucks, take the best player available. And I think the bigger question for the Bucks is what happens with Giannis this summer? That's the main thing right there. But if you're the Bucks, regardless if Giannis stays or goes, you got to take the best player available for your future. You got Taylor Jenkins down the fold, and we'll see how that goes. And, Jimmy Haslam, part of your ownership, we'll see how that thing shake out for you at that point. And to round out the lottery, the Warriors, the OKC Thunder. If I'm gonna say this: if the OKC Thunder somehow wound up in the top 5, I think people have a meltdown. I'll probably have a meltdown. Like, fuck, man, you give this team another high quality player for years to come. Now, number 12, I mean, they can still get that. I mean, you can still get that. You know, who they will look at that point. You know, that'd be very interesting for them. You know, OKC, okay, look at how things are shaking out the year. I think you need somebody down low, maybe like a swing forward, you know, kind of comparable with Jalen Williams. Because I think, you know, you miss Jalen Williams, his versatility on the court. So you can find that swing forward, you know, maybe 4 and 5. I think that go a long way for them in their development. The Miami Heat, they need a point guard. Terry Rozier, he's been caught up with the Fed case. Tyler Hero, he's not a point guard. So you need a point guard for that squad. Now, does John Morant come into play with that? That we'll see come the summer or before the draft. But they need a point guard and possibly a big man down low. I know they got Khalil Ware and stuff like that. They kind of find him on a digging for treasure, but I think you kind of need another big man in that rotation if you mind me. But I think they'll probably look for more point guard around that point in 13. The Hornets. Point guard. If they can find a point guard at 14, I think you got to take that chance. LaMelo Ball is nice, but he's too herky-jerky and he can't stay healthy. Kobe White is more of a combo guard, but I think you need like a point guard to build a laser. You need a point guard if you're the Hornets. Maybe you look in the wing. Brandon Miller, he came along, but he's been injuries on and off. Maybe look at the 4 spot. Do you get bigger down low? Center, those guys play well at center, but they're not the biggest guys in the world. And going back to the Warriors, Steve Kerr re-up for another 2 years with the franchise. So he'll be around for another 2 years. But if you're the Golden State Warriors, you got to take the best player available and kind of mold that player, hopefully, as a cornerstone for your franchise. So, you know, I think that should be a big guy, the best big guy available. Because you need some size, and you really can't depend on Porzingis to be that dude. In my humble opinion, to be healthy and dependable on the stuff. I don't think you can rely on Porzingis to be that. But if you're the Warriors, you got to take a place for best player available. Get everybody healthy. Steph, Jimmy Butler, you know, Draymond. If you do keep Porzingis, you know, keep him healthy best way you can. You know, or you bring back Al Horford back in the mix. If he's gone, then yeah, you do need big men. Your bench could need some sprucing up as well. So you just need some talent. Like the role players that have been fine. It's just like you kind of need some juice. You know what I'm saying? And I think Golden State's been missing that the past few years. And granted, they had that, but you know, they kind of went to bed with that development. Looking at Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, and whatnot. But that's your draft lottery results. A lot of great questions there. A lot of questions for a lot of these teams. From 1 for 14 in the draft lottery. A lot of direction, a lot of franchise altering the decisions that these teams got to make, especially teams in the top 5. Steve Ballmer, you're going back to the Clippers. You got the Intuit Dome to sell for the next few years. Can your team of folks got the right player to sell to fans for the next 10 years? If you don't price them out. Bulls, same thing. The Rising Stars got a very bad reputation in Chicago right now. Can you hit on this draft pick and hope for the best? Memphis, in a bit of transition right now. Ja Morant questions, relocation questions. I mean, I'll say this. If the Grizzlies move to Nashville, I mean, I ain't gonna complain because it'd be a lot closer that I go to games and stuff. But just keep the team in Memphis. Figure out with Ja Morant, go from there, and get things back rolling with that franchise. Utah, one of the more steady teams in the NBA. They're going to be real about that. Can this draft pick get them back to that status of no-call Utah and build back that reputation? And for the Wizards, you've been handed an opportunity to get whoever you select be your franchise changer. Your ownership, Taylor Leonis, was disappointed that they didn't get the number 1 overall pick last year. This time around, your luck has changed for the better. You got various options this time around. You got to toss all those options. You got to go through all those guys I've been naming out through. Go through extensively and make sure you get the right guy for your franchise that you can sell your fan base for the next decade to be that guy. It's not about Anthony Davis. It's not worried about Anthony Davis and what he fits with best. It's not about Trae Young. It's who he fits best. This is like one player you got to get right for the health of your franchise. And homegrown. Whether it's AJ DeMista, Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, or somebody else, you got to hit on this number 1 overall pick for your franchise. Let's be real. Some of these teams in the East are getting older, and you got a distinct advantage to come up and be on the upswing for years to come. Going back to the Wolves first game, they went to commercial real quick, so I'll get back to that in here in a second. And let me get this topic off right here. Can the Lakers win tomorrow? Can the Lakers win tomorrow? I don't know. I think I said on the show a couple weeks ago, I thought they would get at least one, but I don't see it happening, man. It's like the role players, they play very well for OKC. I can't hate. They play well. They shooting the ball very well. I think JJ Redick has had a good game plan for this series, but I don't think he has the horses for it. And then, you see videos of him, like DeAndre Ayton, for example. He's saying to Nate McMillan and Scott Brooks, I can't play this dude. He should be better than he is, but he's not giving me nothing that I need. Like, it comes in spurts with Ayton, but it's not like sustained spurts. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the thing. It's like with Ayton, it's like it's not sustained spurts when he plays ball. Let me get this out. But it's like, damn, man, you should be dominating. Should be way better than what you gives us at times. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like blah in a sense. Almost done here. So it's like, damn, man, give us something. Give us something. I can't depend on LeBron to do all the heavy lifting, all that stuff. It shouldn't be that way. But I give OKC credit. AJ Mitchell, 24 points in that matchup, 10 assists. Really took over in that second half. Shea had 23 points. Holmgren had 18 points, 9 rebounds, Hartenstein, 12 points, 9 rebounds. And then Casey Wallace off the bench, 16 points for him. 12 points for Isaiah Joe, 4 for 6. For both of those guys coming for 3-point land. Jeremy Kane, who been killing the Lakers the previous 2 games, he only played like 9 minutes, but he got 3 points off. Like, I've been tweeting for the show's account, like, those role players have been killing the Lakers for the most part. The role players. Jalen Williams had not played in this series. These role players kicking our ass. The role players. And it's credit, what the OKC roster has built over the past few years. And hopefully with new Lakers ownership or whatnot, they seen this and saying like, okay, we gotta do the same. I mean, it's similar, but we gotta do the kind of same thing here. Now, yeah, you can do the same thing like that, like OKC, but can your coach develop and play them like they do in OKC? That's the difference. In Jonathan, it's kind of be herky-jerky about the young guys, if per se. And y'all don't know who Jonathan is, that's JJ Redick. But JJ Redick, back against the corner, you got to throw all the stops tomorrow. Play Dalton Connect, play Bronny, play the kid from Arkansas who can jump out the damn gym. All hands on deck tomorrow. If they ain't playing like shit, then sit his ass down, put Jackson Hayes in there. Tamara Riggs brought up, the Lakers won't win the series against the Thunder. Win game 4 would be a miracle, but that will be delaying the inevitable. Yeah. Yeah. I like that, Taryn. I was trying to be nice and say the Lakers will win one, but I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, I don't think they got the horses for it, for this team. To play against this team. Like, even without Jalen Williams, they still kicking ass. And hell, if we're being real, They didn't need Jalen Williams against that series against the Suns either. And yes, I know, ladies and gentlemen, Luka has not played in the playoffs, but still. Well, his defense, his lack of defense, against this Thunder squad, it probably won't help at all. I mean, yeah, you get mad scoring for scoring and whatnot, but his defense against some of these guys, especially the role players, like Wallace and AJ, Jerry McCain, Crooks, will blow past him and shit. And winning the series against the Rockets was a grind and accomplishment on its own. At least the Lakers won't be one and done. Yeah. I think JJ, it's progress. And I think, with LeBron last year on his deal and see what happens with him, if we do a show on Wednesday, we probably talk more depth about this. But Austin Reeves, what we gonna do about him and his situation? DeAndre Ayton, you kind of, Master Cleaver, his contract finally coming off. You got rid of Gabe Vincent's contract. Do you keep Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard around? There's a lot of questions with the Lakers squad and whatnot. So, we'll see, what goes back with the squad and see what happens tomorrow night, at Crypto Arena against the Thunder. And I think you probably see LeBron come out aggressive, all that stuff. But we'll see. Let me get this up. And I know I ain't talking about the Detroit series in Cleveland, but I think I got Detroit winning tomorrow. So if you're a Detroit fan, listen to this. And I know it's just a pass-by comment, but I got your team winning tomorrow against the Cavaliers. And before I get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, let me talk about this game and get this up here. The Spurs up 3, 7:05 against the left in the game against the Wolves. 94-91. So Spurs are playing tough without getting winning out due to a favorite two. The elbow Nas Reed for the Spurs. You talk about another team about depth and drafting and stuff like that. And granted, the Spurs have been doing that well since forever. But still, okay, Tim Duncan retired, Kawhi Leonard gone. You kind of repeat the process. Now you got guys like Devin Vassell hitting a 3-pointer in the corner. Stephon Castle, you took in the lottery. Victor, number 1 overall. You already had guys established like Keldon Johnson and whatnot in the fold. Julian Champagne, you found in the discount aisle. Stuff like that, kind of like a first typical type of player. And now your team is up 6 right now with 6 minutes left in the game. Trying to go 3-1 against one of your arch rivals, to be real. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I ain't expect to go long like this, but thank y'all for tuning in with me tonight. I might try to do Wednesday show. We'll see how things go out. But thank you for tuning in with us here tonight. You follow us on X / Twitter at FastBreakIESR. That's FastBreak@IESR. You follow D-Locke at Black-813. That's Black-813. He will talk about his Cutting Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Magic, and wherever else he's talking about as well around the world. I myself, you follow me at Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288 as well. And also I do another thing on side called the Quick Process. You can find me that on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, might change the YouTube and Twitch process. We'll see as well. So do follow me on those platforms as well. Do follow iSports Radio on X and YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on X. Follow us on Love It. Interact with us. Do tweet out, all that good stuff. But this has been our showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in with us. Next week, we'll be talking about conference final talk here. We'll see. Till then, talk to y'all later. Peace.